Well, I think that it was the second time out when the guys were discussing options, and we were probably felt we were behind the game. I don't think, certainly Scott wasn't in the right areas in his first spell, so there was some improvement to be had there. Sometimes the benefit of only having 5 bowlers is that there's nowhere to hide, so you've got to make an adjustment pretty quick. And I think there's a couple of tight overs, the way Harbhajan Singh bowled, and then Imran as well. It just created a bit more pressure on those last few overs. So whilst they were keeping up, it was going by our innings. It was difficult the last 5 or 6 to get any momentum. It took a little bit of Dhoni magic and Raidu to get us to that score. So we still believe that if we can create some pressure, we'd take it deep. But the fact they're only 2 down with some hitting power to come was of concern. To me, it was when Scott got a feel for what length to bowl, and all the team saw how hard it was going to be to score. I think we then got some belief in the fact it was down to 18 balls and a high run rate. So you could look at probably the overs from Harbhajan to Imran, and then that over coming back from Kuggeleijn were defining moments. Well, I think that probably the earlier bat is better, the ball coming on, and he's been in some really good form with South Africa. So we've been conscious that he hasn't been playing and been in good form. So through the injury of Bravo, it was an obvious choice to get him in, and his form continued. He can manipulate the bowling pretty well, and he's got some good power. So look, he doesn't hit it 50 rows back, but just over the rope is fine. And he was able to manipulate and keep momentum going. It wasn't an easy track, but the longer players batted, there was more chance of getting an innings of substance. So they had a good partnership, and we had a good partnership as well. And then it was a little bit tough for guys coming in. We had no choice really. The spin bowlers were keeping us in the game, and then it was a case that MS had no other option. So it was take it as long as possible. 3 overs left of seam bowling, but again, what we saw when they bowled was when they were into the track and short, it was hard to hit with that big boundary. They went away from that a little bit towards the end, and that can be a bit of pressure from Dhoni and Raidu. But once we found the method, we were pretty keen to stick to it, Kuggeleijn in particular, and then we had a bit of a scare with Chahar, but he got out of that over pretty well. We lost Lungi. We had to look at a certain price bracket, and he interests me because he had some pace and had played international cricket. The thing you can't understand without working with someone is their temperament. And to throw him into 3 days since he's been here, throw him into a big game at our home ground is a big ask. And I think you saw the first 2 overs with just that. So then it was about being firm about what we wanted, and it was quite simply just hit the middle of the wicket and bowl your cutters, which in our scouting, that's what we saw. So we were very strong with him at that last break, and very instructional. So take away any doubt, just do that. And he did it very well. And once he got confidence that it was working, he was able just to get into that. But he'd been fractionally full, and that can be nerves, and that can be just the whole environment being so foreign. And hats off to him to come back like that. I was a little bit worried that we were going to put him in a situation which was going to be tough, and he responded pretty well. You've just got to back him, I think. Sometimes back the unknown, but look, MS is very supportive. It's a culture where if it hadn't worked, we're not scathing. We understand how tough it can be, but when we bring someone in, we look at the skills they bring and just trying to get the best out of them. And today was a massive step for him to be part of the group, to win a game and part of the last part of the game to make a big contribution. Goes a long way to feeling a part of the group. So that's a positive. He can get better from there. It's a lot hotter than what New Zealand is at the moment as well, so your pace is going to be a little bit down. There's a lot of reasons why it was going to be a tough day, but we needed to find out what he could do. We've got Shardul, who's developing nicely. Mowat is coming back from injury, and we know we're going to need all these bowlers firing. It's an area that we're a little bit concerned about. And introducing Scott today hopefully will just help us while Bravo's injured and give us some more options as the tournament goes on. We've got some dates that are in 2 weeks' time to see where he's at. We've got a very good physio that is pretty accurate with his assessments. The key thing is when you have 2 weeks out of cricket is maintaining sort of some match fitness. So we just got to make sure when Bravo is right that we introduce him at the right time. That's why developing these other players will be important, because we don't lose players at the end of the tournament. So if we can scrape our way through, then we won't be weakened by losing players. The injury as such will have him coming right for hopefully the latter part of the tournament. David Willey also, maybe at some point, but we are a little bit thin, there's no doubt about it. So that's why the introduction of Scott today was important, just to see how thin we were. And we're going to have to work hard. At home we can get away with spinners, but the bowlers are really trying hard to make sure they contribute, and today they did. But keep in mind our spinners were outstanding as well. So look, we know we've got holes, and we're just scrapping hard to hide them.